Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today we're going to help you get faster around Formula One's fastest track of the season, Jeddah. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave any feedback or questions in the comment section or my Discord, which is linked in the description. That being said, let's get right into it. This video will be broken down into 5 sections: car setup, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and finally a full lap. These sections are all equally important, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you really want to improve. So here's the setup I run in Saudi Arabia. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot this if you want to try out the setup on your own. This setup prioritizes good front end rotation and turn-in grip, as well as balanced downforce throughout the lap. As a disclaimer, the setup is a general baseline for you to start with and applies to both hot laps and a race. I recommend doing a few laps with this setup and tweaking it to fit your own style. At the beginning of Sector 1, stick to the right side of the track and watch for the meter boards on the fence. These come by fast, so notice the 200 meter board, then the 150 meter board, and right after that this yellow section on the fence. Use this yellow as a final warning that you're approaching your braking point. Notice the 100 meter board up ahead now. You should also use this as a reference point. You want to brake about 20 meters before this sign, so around 120 meters from the corner. At this point, slam on the brakes and make sure to reach 100% brake pressure before slowly bleeding off the brakes to avoid a lockup. Keep your eyes focused on the apex now and start turning in a bit beyond the 50 meter board. Turning in now, make sure you've released enough brake pressure to avoid locking up, as going wide here ruins your run through the next corner. Try to stick close to this inside curb, and at the apex now you want a spurt of throttle, but only for a second, as once you turn into this right-hander, you now want a slight tap of the brakes. This helps rotation in the front end and allows you to stick closer to this inside curb. Once rounding the corner, sway out to the left side of the track and immediately get back on the power. It is possible to spin here, but you can be very aggressive getting on the throttle. On the left, make sure to avoid going too wide so you don't hit the wall, and at this point you should be at full throttle. Flat out on the straight now, sway to the right side of the track. Watch for this 50 meter board up ahead. You want to brake about a car length before this board. This is more braking than you think you need, so you want a full push to 100% brake force and a few downshifts before you start bleeding off the brake. Turning in here is the trickiest part of the lap in my opinion, as too early can lead to a huge crash into this left wall, and too late forces you off the track on exit. I like to start turning in just after this electronic flag indicator up ahead, and keep my eyes focused on the apex of the corner. Getting as close to the wall as you can is very beneficial here, so try to stick close to the apex. The line through here can be quite difficult, and a later turn in is better. I find this to be the best way to approach this corner. At the apex now, get back on the power and follow through to the right curb now. You can use as much of this curb as you like, it's a pretty safe one. Full throttle now, stick to the right side of the track around this bend, and as this high-speed left approaches, aim to cut close to the inside wall here. However, once past this left, sway towards the middle of the track. A wider entry into this next left is hugely important, so make sure you don't just try to stick towards this left wall. At the middle of the track now, pull back into the left again and cut close to the wall. This next section is very flowing, so it's important to drive naturally and avoid rigid steering inputs. Stay flat out and smoothly transition to the right side towards this curb. Now, sway back out to the left, and you can use some of this outside curb, but be careful. Dipping your wheels fully over this curb here can end up with you bottoming out on the curb and skidding into the wall. With your left wheels on the curb, wait for this right-hander to approach. You want to turn in before this green and white curb ends, and when you turn in, I like to have a very slight lift of the throttle and a single downshift to ensure good front-end rotation. As soon as you lift and downshift, immediately go back to full power. Try to stick as close as you can to this inside wall here and follow through the corner. As the right wall fades away, continue flat out and transition the steering to the left, aiming for this left inside curb. You can use this curb as well. Again, staying flat out, let that curb naturally fade away and the track open up, and follow through to the right curb on exit. Again, this one is completely safe to ride up on, just watch track limits here as it's easy to go wide. This section can require a lot of practice, so don't be discouraged if it's really tricky at first. Now, once exiting, continue on the power and head down the straight. So that's a look at Sector 1, now let's see it at full speed. Heading towards the sweeping left, watch for the meter boards on the right side of the track. You want to brake just after the 50 meter board here. Under braking, immediately turn into the corner, and the second you release all the brake pressure, get back on the power. You can lose a lot of time if you coast for a split second here, so make sure you're smoothly transitioning from brake to throttle. Aim for this inside curb here and take a later apex since this corner is a long one. Once at the inside wall, continue increasing the power and start naturally swaying to the right as the corner opens up. It is possible to spin here if you spike the throttle, but you can be more aggressive than you think with the power here, and by this point you should be flat out. All the way to the right side of the track now, stick towards the right wall and head towards the next corner. I like to ride as close to the wall as possible. As the next corner approaches, transition to the left side of the track. Here you should be braking at the 50 meter board, but I find that watching this point distracts me from the track. I like to watch the left curb and wall to see where it bumps out the most, and at the peak of this wall becoming narrower, I use that as my braking point. This ends up with you braking at the correct point, but it makes it a lot easier to stay focused on the track. Now, at this point, you want a quick jab to full brake pressure, a couple downshifts, and to turn in immediately. Try to stick as close as you can to the inside wall. The closer you are means the easier the next corner is. At mid-corner, get back on the power and sway towards the middle of the track. The next left is taken flat out, and you can use a bit of this inside curb if you need to. Once on this curb or right next to it, continue flat out and sway to the right, but make sure to avoid going too wide or you'll hit the wall. Now, continue flat out through this upcoming section of corners. That's our run through of Sector 2, now let's see it at full speed. On the right side of the track now, watch for how the track flows from left to right, to left, and back to right. This section is very easy, just stick towards the inside wall and flow back and forth. It's a very satisfying portion of the track. At the final right now, you'll notice some meter boards popping up on the fence. Watch this section and keep an eye out for the black electronic flag sign. Exactly at this point, brake. You can get away with about 50% brake pressure here, and as you do so, immediately turn into the corner. Again, sticking as close to the wall as you can is the goal here. At mid-corner, get back on the power and consistently increase to full throttle. Flat out now, aim to pull in towards this right side curb. You can dip a wheel over this one if you need to. As the corner fades away, naturally sway towards the middle of the track before pulling back into the right for this next corner. Continue flat out through here and then sway to the left wall on exit. This section is super easy, just take a natural, flowing line from the left wall towards the middle of the track and then back to the left wall. You want the straightest possible line through here. Finally, as the corner approaches, get back to the right side of the track, and watch for the meter boards here. You want to brake just beyond the 100 meter board. This corner is one of the more straightforward ones of the lap. Under braking, bleed off the brake and turn into the corner, aiming for a later apex. Once at mid-corner, get back on the power and extend to the right as much as you can to use the full width of the track. On the right now, increase to full throttle and get ready to enable DRS. So that's a look at Sector 3, now let's see it at full speed. Now let's take a look at a full lap. So there you have it, a full lap of Jeddah broken down corner by corner and sector by sector. If you want to see more track guides on F124, have any questions, or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment below or in my Discord. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.